Welcome everybody, Steve here. Check out our next project. This is the steering wheel for Project 56 Merc, and it's pretty rough shape, gotta say. A lot of cracks, a lot of breaks, some pretty big gaps, and I'm going to attempt to fix it. Now, you've seen some of my past videos. I've used that plastic repair to, fix the flare, fix a couple other plastic pieces, and it's worked out pretty good. So I'm going to use that product for the steering wheel. And first of all, I'm going to clean it with a water-based degreaser. I'm going to do that first. Get in there and spray some in there. Let it sit for a second, and I'll blow it out with some air. Now what I want to do is I want to V out each one of these cracks that I'm going to fix. I think that by V'ing it out, instead of having your filler come straight up, a crack is always going to be just right there. If you V it out, then it has to go through that little bit of plastic in order for it to re-crack. That's my thinking. Let's get started. So first things first, we'll clean it. I cleaned most of it. Just a little bit left to do, but I haven't done any of the cracks. What I'm going to do is get them good and wet. Let them soak for a bit. And then just blow them out. Now we're just going to use the die grinder here, V everything out. Just changing the bit. A little smaller one. A little more control. So I chose 3 cracks we're going to start with. No sense hitting her hard right off the bat. See how it works out for setup time and all that. Now I've just got some carb cleaner here. Make sure that we're good and clean that way. So our plastic repair, it's like an epoxy, 50-50, and you gotta really mix it well. I'll show you the box, show you what stuff I am using. This is a rigid repair. It's pretty hard plastic. So it should work. I don't know if it's actually a plastic or what they used back in them days, but I'm sure the space age stuff that we have today should work. I haven't gone out and bought anything special for this. I am just trying it. There's nothing to lose. So see if we can push as much into that crack as we possibly can. Okay, we got the cracks filled up. Now it doesn't look pretty, but we will take a file and then we are going to use some finishing putty on that as well. So there's more than just one step. I think this is going to be a big job. Now I'm just using a double cut file, just a half round, just to get the initial shape. File's nice, and it definitely seems to be sticking well. In the sense that, you know, the stuff on the side isn't peeling off or anything like that. You know, a guy could use something like a grinder or something like that, but stuff files pretty simple, and the last thing you want is more work to do. So once these are done, then I'll use a putty. I've got a plastic putty just made for plastic, like a spot putty, 2-part. And then from there we'll just use some sandpaper, then go with a primer. Just treat it like it's an auto body project. But it's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think it's going to work. Well, these are looking pretty good. I'm really happy the way they've turned out so far. Now there's lots to do. You know, this isn't just an afternoon job. You know, you got to wait for, you know, the product to set up, and you know, you want to just kind of take your time on something like this. So that's what I'm doing, just in my spare time. And I started gouging out some more here. I think I'll just pick another couple more to do. And then tomorrow I'll do another couple more, and eventually we'll get all the cracks done. So we'll get a couple more prepped up here and put in some more plastic. couple more spots to put that plastic filler in. But now I want to start with putting some of the putty on there. And what I'm going to do first is make sure that the steering wheel is really good and clean. Just using a lacquer thinner here. And then after that, I want to give it a real light sand with 150 grit. And then I can apply some of that filler. And that should take care of any little cracks. You got a couple little micro cracks here and there. It's going to take some time because there's no way in the world you find them all right at the same time. You know, you think you got everything done, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, there's another one. But that's okay. Pretty old steering wheel. Yeah, just by cleaning it out, you can see some more little micro scratches, but it's really rough. So we'll give it a little light sand. Last night I got some primer on this, and man, does it ever look good. I'm even surprising myself how well this looks. Now, we went through the steps. I put on the plastic epoxy first, and then I went over it with that epoxy putty. Now, in hindsight, rethinking the whole thing, I probably go from the plastic, sand it with a little bit of 150 grit, and then go to primer. Adding the the two-part putty just added another big step. Like, that's a lot of work to resand all that, and put it on if you need it after. That is my suggestion. But the way it's working out right now, it's looking good. I'm gonna sand the primer spots down with 220. There's still a couple little micro cracks that I'll fill up with some putty, and then probably prime it one more time, sand it down with some 280 or so, and then go to a paint. I'm really happy the way it's turning out. way better than when it started. Now, so over the course of doing this, I'm using 2 different burring bits on my die grinder here. One with just a real narrow one and a little thicker one. And I got 3 different files going here. I just got a half round. This is an 8-inch half round, a 6-inch, just a round file, small one, and a very thin, small, flat file. And those are the tools, and really, if you have this, that's all you really need, because that really shapes it nice, gets into the tight spots that you need. And then after that, you just get a little light sand with some 150 grit, go to primer. All right, I'm gonna start working on the 220 and keep filling the little things that I have to fill, and we're almost ready for paint. It's good stuff. I got these little minor cracks in here, and I'm pushing it in with my finger. Figure that's the best way of doing it. And I hope she works. She will. All right, it's time to start sanding with the 220. Now I put my initial primer on there, and I'm pretty happy the way things are turning out. So we'll give everything a light sand with 220. We'll inspect it, make sure that there's nothing that's popping out at us, and then we can go ahead, put 1 more coat of primer on, and then go to 320, and then we can go to paint. Excuse me. Now, I found this, I was doing some pulling on my truck, pulling a dent out years ago, and I had this little bar here with a nut on it. So all I did was just bolted this bar on there. It was kind of a fluke, but now I can put that, or hold that up when I paint, and then I can just stick it in the vise. I'm sure you can come up with some sort of an idea. I think that's going to be better than hanging it from the ceiling. I'm not sure. We'll see when we get there. Well, we got our steering wheel into our 2nd coat of primer there. Now she's time to sand her down. Now I'm just using a 320. I think that's about where you want to be. Anything coarser than that, I think you're going to see it. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to paint it with a SEM product, and this is for plastic, so it will stick, if you break through your primer. And this is Landau Black, but when you're painting your steering wheel, man, I tell you, you can get pretty fancy. Hit it with some base coat clear, and if you want to go metal flake, you can do whatever you really want. Just make sure that you hit it with a little bit of primer or sealer that will stick to plastic really well before you hit it with some base coat, because I'm not sure if it'll stick if you got some exposed plastic. But that's what you do. It's endless. You know, and I don't really want to steer you in the wrong direction. No, maybe I should probably edit that out. That was way wrong. Let's get this sanded down so we get some spray on it. Well, I've got my little elaborate little setup here with the plastic. Got my vise. It's working really good. Now we're just giving it a light little tack. Follow all the little rules. You know, you can blow it off and you think you got it good, but that tack cloth will get rid of that one little piece of dust that's going to bug you really, really bad. And if you do get a little piece of dust, you know, you can just sand it out with a little 320 and give it another shot of paint. Not that big of a deal. Now, one thing I didn't mention is this is going to be black, so I used a black primer. So try and get the primer as close as you can to whatever paint you're going to use. That way it will wear through. Eventually it's going to wear through, and the less that you can see, you know, the longer you can go with your steering wheel before you repaint it again. So I think we're ready to go. Well, we got her done. Now, this has beat my expectations. I didn't think it was going to turn out this good. But it's just one of those projects, you just got to try it. This is the first time I've ever done this. And it wasn't that bad. It was quite an easy project to do. Steering wheels can get really expensive. Give it a try first before you shell out the big bucks. And if it doesn't work, then nothing lost. So anyway, we're happy. This is going to look good on our 56. And until the next project, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned.